And I'll let you see that in just a second. So, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna put it in there just like this. Wrap it up where both jaws are on the rag, not on the bow. Alright, we're gonna start laying out the back of this bow. We're gonna draw it out. So what I like to do is I like to take a piece of string, put it on the center of this limb out towards the tip, and the center of this limb, because I like to just see where the string's gonna run down this bow. And yeah, we're definitely gonna have some adjusting to do on a jig, but we can mark this up here, and then we can mark this over here. You can mark those without the string. I just prefer to use it just so I get a general idea of how much I'm gonna adjust this on a jig. And another thing, you're gonna want to use a lead pencil on the back of the bow, because if you use like a black marker or an ink pen or really any kind of marker that's a dark color, what's gonna end up happening is it's gonna soak in through the wood, and then you're gonna have to remove extra material to get that black marker on. And since it's on the back of the bow, what might end up happening is you might end up having to work it down to another growth ring if it comes down to drastic. But that's why I prefer to use black marker. Now we're gonna start laying out this bow. I like to start in the handle section back here, and we'll draw out our handle back here. So what I'll do is where my black marks are, I'll just put this across here. It ain't gotta be perfect. Just draw you some lines, and then do the same thing on this side. Draw you some lines. And then what's gonna end up happening is this is gonna become your handle here. So this is gonna get shaped out to look like, let me grab another bow real quick and I'll show you. Shaped out to look similar to like how this is here. And I'm either gonna go with this shape on the handle, and this is my personal hunting bow here. This is also Osage orange, and this is what I mean by the wood darkens up. When I first made this bow, this wood back here was a lighter color. It was more brighter, but as you can see, it's brighter on this side where I had to take material off more, but it's set out in a shed for a while like this. But as you can see, it's had some mishaps before. String slipped off my grooves because they weren't deep enough originally, and my horn tip overlays about took this one off, and I had to wrap this around there just for an emergency. And I've never taken it off because I just kind of like it. Gives it character. But also, let me grab another bow and I'll show you what the handle could also be on this bow, because I'm not sure if I'm going to make it a bend through the handle or if I'm going to make it a stiff handle like that bow. Now this bow is hickory backed. I did not make this bow. An old man that taught me a lot about making bows started this one and never finished it, and I just haven't got around to finishing it yet. But this one bends through the handle. This would make a very nice type of handle on this bow, And that might honestly be what I do with it, because this, I don't know if you can see it, but this has slight reflex to it all the way throughout it. This is still considered a long bow, but this bow would probably have some very amazing speed and power out of it, probably at 45 to 50 pounds. But one day when I get around to working on that one, we might. But for now, I think I'm going to lay the handle out to be stiff, and I can change it later on. But I'm going to lay it out like this handle. So what I like to do is I like this handle shape. Fits just about anybody's hand. And I'll kind of center it up on here. And follow it all the way up to that point. So there be our handle. Now, what I'll do is I'll take this pencil and I'll lock it in my fingers, and I'll use this bottom finger as a depth gauge to run down this bow. And what I'll do is I'll start at the tip of the bow, and let me angle you down here just a little bit more. But I'll start out here at the tip of the bow, and it's going to be wider than what it's going to be finished. You want to leave you some extra meat there, but put your hand on, put it on here, lead where you want it, and then take this bottom finger and set it as a depth gauge, basically, and just run that down. And again, it ain't gotta be perfect. Now, you see that? We're gonna go down a little bit further, right about there. And then you're gonna do the same exact thing over here. And I'm gonna follow this crack right here a little bit. That way I can make sure I get it worked out of the bow. But just do the same thing. Okay. Now, we're gonna come back up here to where these marks are, and we're gonna put our marker on these, and we're actually gonna go a little bit wider than those. Do the same thing up here. Now, as you can see, that right there don't line up exactly. But what we'll do is we'll come back here a little bit further, and we'll just kind of adjust it in, and then just kind of pull it in like that, just where it does line up a little better. But there's one side kind of laid out. Oh, it is laid out. Other than we're gonna up through there. Now we're gonna do the same exact thing over here. So that's how you lay that out. Now, on the back of the bow, if I could find my marker, which this is where I usually use a black, it's beside me in the chair. Of course it is. But, okay, for laying it out on the side of how thick you want your bow to be, what I usually do is, again, you're going to use your finger as a depth gauge, and I'm actually going to start up here on the tip. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this marker and you're going to go up here and you're going to mark this way up here. And then once you get back here to this point right there, as you can see my lines right there, is you're gonna take this and you're just gonna crudely make a line up through there. And you're gonna do the same exact thing over there. See that? Then you're gonna go through here, and what I like to do is I'll take a measurement with my ruler of how thick this is down through here. That way I can get an accurate measurement and keep it the same on the other side, because these are your guidelines here. And what you want to do when you're scribing this line on is your finger that you're using to hold the depth, you want it on the back of the bow, because since you took all this down to one growth ring, it's going to follow that more evenly than it is on the belly here, because the belly is way more lumpy and chunky like this right here. If I would have been following this, it would have hit this little groove here and it would have dropped down deeper, which I left enough meat, that's no big deal. But that's how you lay out a bow. So I think that's just about it. I'll catch you on the next video, and we'll start shaping this down to our lines and shaping her up a little bit more, and then we might be tillering it. But I'll catch you then.